Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this week's Open Dialogue. It's a pleasure having your company in this week's episode. As the Islamic holy month of Dhul Hijjah begins, and major Eids will be celebrated, Eid al-Adha, the Grand Eid of Ghadir, and finally Eid al-Mubahila, we will see a large number of couples trying to tying the knot during the celebrations of these months. Although this is admirable, and more individuals, in particular the youth, should be encouraged to enter the sacred matrimonial bond, however, the sad reality is a lot of these marriages will fail and break down. In this week's episode of the Open Dialogue, we will discuss how, with our guests, the reasons of the relationships and breakdowns, and what we as individuals, as families and communities can do in order to help these matrimonial bonds to strengthen and flourish and last. Joining us for today's discussion, I am pleased to introduce our two guests. We have with us our scholar, Hujjatul Muslimin, Sayyid Mohammad Razavi, who is a lecturer and a speaker who has studied in the Hausa of Qom for over 16 years. And he has represented the school of Ahlebait at various centers globally and on many national and international media outlets, as well as various universities. Hujjatul Islam al-Muslimin, Sayyid Mohammad Razavi, is currently the head of the Religious Advisory Board at the Shia Islamic Education Society in London, where he deals with family matters and resolves family disputes in accordance to the Islamic laws. I would also like to introduce our second guest this week, guest of the week, Sayeda Zahra Hussain. She is also an Islamic scholar and a public speaker. She has delivered many lectures and seminars worldwide on various media outlets. She is also a director of a tutoring company called the Right Path Tutors, where they teach core curricular subjects in the UK, and now they are providing the services worldwide. She also has a passion to help individuals, in particular the young generation, to overcome relationship issues, and she has over 20 years of experience in this field. Sayeda Zahra has also set up a residential Imam Bargah single-handedly, where they hold the majalis of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his household. And she has set this up in her hometown, and it's one of the largest centers in the UK. Assalamu alaikum to both of the honorable guests. It's a pleasure having you on the program. A warm welcome. And dear viewers, we are very honored and lucky that between these two individuals, we have over 60 years of experience in dealing with relationship issues. The Syed having over 40 years of experience and Sayeda Zahra having over 20 years of experience. Because we will have so many things to discuss in today's program, I will come straight away to you, Syed, with the first segment of this program, and that is the highlight of the week. Sayed Razavi, what have you chosen to highlight for us in the events of this week and to share with us? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Well, this week coincides with the anniversary of the wedding or proposal of Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, and then wedding of Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam to Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha. And this is an event which is backed by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, he was the father, and a wedding of a daughter cannot take place without father's permission. I said, especially if the father is Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, that has to be given importance and priority. And Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha is a ma'asuma, an infallible lady would not have gone against the teachings of Islam and against the wishes of her father. And also, this event is backed by the verses of Holy Quran. One of the most famous verse that can be quoted is Inna A'tainaka al-Kawthar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially when people were criticizing Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for not having a son, this verse was revealed, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was indicating to the spread of the generation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through the wedding of Hazrat Fatima and Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, and the generation of Sadat, all the Sayyids and descendants of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam are from the daughter of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which was again another thing that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did with his arrival or with his introduction of Islam and Islamic teachings, that he told everyone that the norms and traditions that exist in the Jahiliyyah period are wrong, and if Allah wants the spread of the generation of a person, and especially a person important like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he can spread the generation of him by his daughter. And Hazrat Fatima Zahra sallallahu alaiha married Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, and all the Sayyids come from her. Fatima is unique because her father is Ma'soom, her husband is Ma'soom, she is Ma'sooma, and two of her sons, Hassan and Hussain, are Ma'soom. So this is a circle of Ma'soomeen that created a Ma'soom, an infallible family, and that's why this circle is considered as Panjitan, as we teach our children, especially when they are growing up. We, especially in India, Pakistan, Iran, we teach them Allah is one and Panjtans are five. These five Panjtan are all infallibles: Prophet Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussain. So this is the most noble, unique family that can be imagined, and that's why there is another verse of Holy Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. This is the most purified family which established the family of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyway, there are lots of more things to discuss, inshallah, with the help of Sister Gule Zahra and you. Inshallah, we will discuss and have a good, fruitful discussion.
So, Sayed, you've highlighted a very important event, which is a matrimonial event. It's the coming together of Imam Ali alayhi salam and Lady Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. I forgot to mention in your introduction, Sayyidah Gule Zahra, that you process of writing a book. Although it's not related to today's subject, which is the bond and relationship of husband and wife, but it is, you've been reflecting quite a lot on relationships, and the book, I understand, is about the generation gap between parents and children. Based on the reflections that you have been doing on and also your experience dealing with issues within the community, what do you think are the challenges that couples nowadays face who enter into wedlock? What are the challenges of modern day that they are facing?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. To my dear audience, Salamun Alaikum, and special thanks to our Sayed Razavi and Sister Zainab, yourself, for the invitation to attend this program and say something about the relationships. And also I want to say Mubarak to everyone on this auspicious occasion of the act of Bibi Zahra salamullah alaiha and Imam Ali alayhi salam. And we pray that with the barakah of this relationship, may Allah give barakah to each and every household, and may all the hajat will be fulfilled, inshallah. And regards to your question, and it's a very good topic, to be honest, because nowadays it's getting very difficult for husband and wife to maintain this relationship the way it should be. The beauty of this relationship is not there anymore in most cases. So if you look at the history, this is the most beautiful and firstly established relationship what Allah has established in this on this earth. And if we go back, it was Hazrat Adam alayhi salam and Hazrat Hawa, Adam and Eve. They were first, they developed this relationship. Allah has given this relationship, husband and wife relationship. That was the first one established before the relationship of children, before the relationship of parents. This was the first relationship which was established on this earth. So after then, every relationship came on the earth I'm talking about. So what happened? I mean, Allah has created people with this beauty, but where is this beauty gone? Now, the most beautiful relationship has gone down the hill, to be honest, because there are many divorce cases. There are many people, they're not happy with their married life. Where they should be happy, they're not. And what can be the reason? There are many reasons of this breakdown, and is this relationship because there's lack of application of Islamic values in our lives, lack of trust, lack of respect, lack of compatibility, not encouraging each other with good things, lack of understanding with each other, lack of communication, poor communication. So there are many factors which can lead towards the bad relationship. And there is another very important, if our he would agree with me, that the extended family, interference of extended family is also playing a big part in breaking up these relationships. So if you say, collectively, what is there? So I would say that lack of application of Islamic values in your life. That's why people are failing to understand each other's relationship, respect, trust. This is the main issue.
Sayed, what do you think about what Sayeda Gule Zahra has just mentioned? Do you agree with the reasons? Because nowadays, as she mentioned, many marriages fail and they end up in divorce. And she just cited the reasons why you see these issues happening. Also, there is always a saying that marriages are made in heaven and celebrated on earth. But then why do we see these marriages break down, and especially nowadays at such an alarming rate all over the world? And Islamic societies are not immune from this. We can't hear you, Sayed.
Can you hear me?
I think it's coming back. Yes.
Yeah, definitely marriage is liked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and has been encouraged and taught by all prophets and divine religions of the world. Unfortunately, our society is going in wrong direction, and alhamdulillah, recently we heard that people are becoming aware in a non-Muslim world as well, and every day we are hearing news that traditional way of life and marital life and establishment of family is being given importance, while it is being attacked as well, because family is the smallest unit of the society. If the family, which is the smallest unit of the society, is not established correctly, the society will not go in right direction, and that is why marriage is considered very important in all divine religions. and we have to give importance to that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially when we are discussing Hazrat Fatima and Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, has mentioned many things. There is a verse of Holy Quran which I would like to especially quote that verse because it's the tafsir of that verse is excellent. مرج البحرين يلتقيان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان. This is discussing the most purified family, that is family of Ali and Fatima, according to Mufassirin. So this is the verse number 19 and 22, 19 to 22 of Surah Ar-Rahman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, two rivers unite together, and from the unification of these two rivers, Lu'lu and Marjan come out. And Lu'lu means Imam Hassan, and Marjan Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. So families need to be established on purified way, the way Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam's family was established. And all we need to do is look at the family of Ali ibn Abi Talib. They had a very basic family. When Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib والسلام, got married to Hazrat Fatima Zahra salawatullah alaiha, the beginning and the start of the family was very simple. So unfortunately, this does not exist anymore. Negotiations are made, and so many added cultural traditions are added into the weddings, and expenses are increased. And then when the problems happen, both parties demand the expenditure done by each side of them, and it goes on and on. In the wedding of Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib and Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha, Prophet Muhammad gave meat and bread, and Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam provided dates and oil, cooking oil. And if that had happened today, until the last day of the son-in-law, people would have criticized, what did you give? What did you give? And they would have made him humiliated, that, look, you didn't even have that. And Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha had so many wealthy wealthy persons who proposed to Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha, but Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha, as an infallible lady, rejected all of the proposals, because we believe that infallibles have connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's points of views, and they have ilm. So definitely Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha had also the knowledge and ilm who to say yes. And of course she wouldn't have given her opinion over her father's opinion. She gave the priority to her father. So these are the principles that establish purified, simple families. And later on, after establishing the family, they had divided the responsibilities between each other. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib was not shy of helping Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha at home, and Hazrat Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha was not shy of being patient and going out and defending her husband's right whenever it was needed in public. And she was the right spouse for Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. But today's weddings start with competition, and that is the wrong beginning. There is a poem in Persian that if the builder puts the first brick not correctly, the wall will go to the skies and heavens not correctly. I mean, it will not be a straight wall. So we need to teach our children before they get married. I have been mentioning this for many years, that we need to have classes before marriage. And, within Muslim countries, only Malaysia or Indonesia is the one Muslim country where you have to have 4 exams before you get married. And those 4 exams, if you don't pass, you are not allowed to have the license for marriage. You need to have a license for marriage before marriage, and the license is only given if you have gone through those classes. And in those classes, your Islamic rights are taught as a couple, financial rights, sexual rights, emotional rights, and religious responsibilities and duties are taught to the couple. And if they pass this exam, then they are allowed to be married. And apparently, there was a delay between proposal of Hazrat Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha and the marriage, and that delay was for 10 months. When Ali ibn Abi Talib proposed for Hazrat Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha, and when marriage took place, there was around 10 months delay. And some Mufassirin have said that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted, he established the idea of marriage in the mind of his very young daughter. Then she need to be mentally, psychologically, emotionally, from every point of view. Although she was ma'asuma, but she needed to be prepared. And when she was ready for marriage from all points of views, then the marriage took place. And in the meantime, Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasallam, what do you have to look after my daughter? So he was kind of given instructions to prepare himself for the marriage. And that is
I will come
what
back. Sure. I will
that is
come
what
back to you,
doesn't
sir.
happen in our society.
No, I will come back to you because this is a very important point that you are making of how Bibi Fatima Salamullah alayha and Imam Ali both were being prepared mentally, as you mentioned about the classes. But we see the same thing in the seerah of Rasulullah. So I would like you to expand a little bit more on this. And also about the practicalities, because nowadays we see couples go on honeymoon straight away after the wedding. So I'd like you to go out a little bit into more detail about the practicalities of their wedding. But coming to you, Sayeda, what do you think about what the Sayyid just mentioned? Because he mentioned a very important point, and that is usually the first flap starts appearing at the wedding time because of the complications that we have done. What are your thoughts regarding this?
I completely agree with Agha, because girls and boys, they should be mentally prepared for what they are going to go, what relationship they're going to go to. And before then, far before, it is the responsibility of the parents. So I always say that we need to educate parents as well, because they do not prepare their daughters and their sons for this big relationship. They think that this relationship is just reading Sirah and then we are together. And whenever the time comes, if we don't get on with each other, we will be apart. So this should not be there. They should teach them the importance of this relationship, because what happens that, for example, if I'm talking from girls' mom's point of view, that they should be told that you should be respecting your partner, your husband. You should be doing. You should be looking after him, not looking after in a way that, like people think nowadays, girls think that, oh, why should we look after the husband? Because we are equal to him. They should be looking after us as well. So yes, they should be looking after them, and they should be looking after the girls as well. But the problem occurs when we fail to do our duties. So why does it happen? Because they haven't been trained properly. So first thing is that when these things happen, no one realizes that these things are happening. That's very important thing, that you should go in detail that why you have got problem. For example, after marriage, husband is not looking after, husband not paying any attention, not taking any interest in his wife, wife is not paying any attention, not respectful, not doing. So there is something wrong going on, right? So you should address this. So this should be taught before the marriage. These things should be taught by the parents, by the mother of the girl, by the mother of the boy or father. They should be sitting together and they should be going step by step. One week we should be training you for this, the other week we should be doing this. And don't forget that most of the in our culture arranged marriages are there. So we are going into the extended family, we are going to the family of the groom, and groom is going to be handling the family of the girl. So don't forget that you are going to be part of a family. You're not going to be taking your husband and wife away from each other, from their families. So be respectful with the families as well, to the families and to the parents, as well as be respectful to each other, because this is very important. And there is another thing, sister, and I would agree that people have sense of equality and they use it in a wrong way.
Right.
Girls say, "Oh, we are equal to husband." For example, in most cases nowadays, girls go to wife goes to work and husband goes to work as well, right? So, who is the breadwinner? We have to establish. For example, husband is the breadwinner, so other responsibility is lies with the woman, with the wife. But she doesn't do that because she thinks, okay, husband is going out, I do a little bit of work, comes home, husband comes home, you have to wash dishes, you have to do this. Well, if you are at home as a wife, so you should be doing this. For example, wife is a breadwinner and husband is at home. So mom of the husband, she says, "Oh, why do you have to do this? If she comes, let her come home and let her do whatever a wife should be doing, in our culture." So I mean, there's so many examples I can give you. People discuss with me, and then it's a shame because there's nothing in the middle, nothing major, but these little things lead to a big argument, big problem, taking away, from each other respect, compatibility, whatever you call. So this is the main issue, and I totally agree that parents should be preparing their children, their daughter, their sons, that you should be going to this relationship with respect, with trust, with doing importance to your partner, and do not be disrespectful and distrustful with your partner. That's the main thing, I think.
Although most of the time, Sayeda Zahra, parents themselves tend to be clueless about relationships. So how are they going to provide training to the new generation that is entering the matrimonial
So,
bond?
sorry, I missed it. I missed it. What did you say? Sorry, initially that parents
Are themselves sometimes clueless about because they never had these training sessions, and sometimes, as we've mentioned in previous programs on this show, sometimes the role model of the parents sometimes is the worst role model to the children. What's your thoughts regarding this?
very, very good question and very valid question you have. As initially I said, that lack of application of Islamic values in the relationship leads to a major problem. So if parents fail to give training to their children, so the next responsibility lies with individual themselves, because don't forget that they are baligh and they have understanding of different things, because nowadays media is very fast. Nowadays, Ulema, you can ring them, you can approach them. There are many websites, they help you. If this thing happen, regardless of the parent training, I would urge to the couple, wife to be or husband to be, just go and find out yourself that what is needed to be done, because everyone has got different habits, different priorities, different goals in life. They have got different thinking, different way of handling the situation. So you need to know, and everyone is different. Even you are living in one house, for example, brothers and sisters, they are different, and they're raising being raised in the same, same environment. Their habits are different, their way of thinking is different. So when you're going to a totally different family, so obviously there would be differences as well. So bear in your mind and be prepare yourself. You're not relying. And nowadays, to be honest, this is what I wrote. I'm writing about this book about the generation gap. Nowadays, many children, nowadays generation is not relying on their parents anyway, because of the generation gap. What happens there is, when parents fail to give their children the upbringing they should be giving, they trip the balance. They try to raise them the way they have been raised, and they forget the, demands of the new time, new era, according to what their children are facing. So what happens, they are driven away from their children, because don't forget, the children are in this era, this time, and parents are trying to raise them from their own, in their own way. So that's why we say that try to raise them according to Islam, because Islam never changes. Culture changes, time changes, but Islam doesn't changes. So uh, this is the main thing, that you should be raising your children according to Islamic value. Now, if parents fail to do that, this is the responsibility of, regardless whether parents trained you or whether they don't. Nowadays, it's education, as I mentioned, that people, husband and wife to be, they should be getting up, just try to find the ways of liaising with each other after the marriage. Try to take whatever advice they can take from anywhere. So try to do something for themselves as well. At the end of the day, they are the one who are going to be together, not anyone else. So that's what it is.
As you mentioned, our youngsters nowadays do rely on other resources, even if they don't have their parents who have everything. It's
Yeah,
the Google generation after all. We have everything available at our fingertips, and that's a very valid point. That take responsibility yourself in order to reach out.
yeah,
Sayed,
yeah,
I'd like to come to you with the next question, and you can obviously complete what you had started in the previous answer about how Imam Ali and Bibi Fatima salamullah alayhim were trained by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam before entering the bond of marriage. But also say it, since we are talking about breakdown of relationships and the reasons for this, and Sayeda Zahra just mentioned the issues of compatibility, respect, understanding, communication, adherence to Islamic values, and the extended family also helping out. But Sayed, how much does alcoholism, drug taking, and pornography play a part in the relationship breakdowns that we see in today's society?
Of course, I mean, these things didn't exist during the Prophet Muhammad's time, and challenges that we are facing nowadays are far greater than what they faced. And there is a narration regarding Ulema of Akhir al-Zaman that Prophet Muhammad used to say that our ulama, the challenges that our ulama of Akhir al-Zaman will face, when will not be faced or have not been faced by the prophets of Bani Israel, and because they lived a very simple life, no social media, no communication, nothing, and whatever they taught was listened to, and people respected them, and or they did not respect. Battle used to take place and vanish. Uh,
Sayed, sorry to interrupt you here. Sorry to interrupt you, Sayed. Also, in those times when people wanted to reach out for things, such as the things that we have available at our fingertips now, they would have had to themselves go to certain areas and districts in order to access those things. But now it's available in our bedrooms, in our
yeah.
fingertips. And surely that is causing a huge rift in relationships and issues in relationships. I apologize for interrupting you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was listening to a clip of a psychotherapist, an Iranian psychotherapist. He was discussing generation gap, and he was then saying that this is what we are dealing. I mean, we grew up in a totally different environment. I mean, myself, When I was a child, I didn't have mobile phones. I didn't even have phone at home or TV at home, and we used to live a very simple life. But our children, as soon as they open their eyes, the mobile phone is in their hand. A 2-year-old child knows how to play and find the games on the mobile phone. And of course, when a 2-year-old child is able to sort out these things, they will have far more access than what we have, even to the corruption. For example, I mean, recently I prepared a file for a lady who was asking for divorce, and she wanted to sign the authorization paper. I said, well, I sent a PDF format file and asked her to print it without to sign it. She said, I don't have a printer, I'm single parent mother, and this and that. I said, nowadays you don't need to sign, you don't need to print them to sign. Then she said, I don't know that. I said, go and ask your school children. And she went, and the child helped her how to sign the document, PDF file document, and she quickly sent. So this is how much difference is there. Our children, and there is a hadith that educate your children more than what you were educated, because they are far more advanced than our age and period that we were educated in that. So we have to keep that standard. We have to prepare them for the future generation, and that cannot be possible until we set the good examples. For example, if you look at Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, when Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib married Fatima Zahra salatullah alayha, he once came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how do you find my daughter Fatima Zahra? And he replied, said, Ni'mal aun ala ta'atillah. This was the reply of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib to Prophet Muhammad regarding Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha, that she is the best of the help and assistant in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if the couple, and that is why it is extremely important when the couple are getting married, they both have to be kuf. Kuf means they have to be equal. Marrying a cousin is not sign of being kuf. I mean, sometimes you find a cousin brought up in totally different environment, different family, and your upbringing is totally different. Kuf means you should be able to understand each other in obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you are able to do that, which Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib والسلام, was able to do that regarding Hazrat Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha, and Hazrat Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha, if we look at her life, it was not an easy life. This reminds me of an analysis is done by Ayatullah Khamenei, the spiritual leader of Iran. He, in his analysis, said that Hazrat Fatima Zahra salatullah alayha, during the 10 years life of her in Medina with Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, she faced 9 years of that in the battles. I mean, her husband was in the battles. Around 60 battles took place during that time, during those 9 years. And Hazrat Fatima Zahra was married to Ali ibn Abi Talib. And if Ali were not part of those battles would have been lost. Imam Ali was the most important person in the battlefield. Only very few battles he did not take part, but in most of the battles, it was Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib who was there in the war front. So you can imagine a young wife like Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha with children, looking after the house, family, and also ready for her husband when he used to come back. And Imam Ali used to say, when I used to look at her face, I used to forget all the difficulties and hardships that I had faced during the day. And when Hazrat Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha used to look at Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, she used to say that she used to feel comfort. So this kind of relationship needs to be there between the couple, so they feel comfort in each other and true companionship between each other. Otherwise, the families would not be brought up properly. Unfortunately, our families continuously witness the arguments and fights and insults of the husband to wife, wife to husband, and others. And unfortunately, the mothers, instead of training their daughters to look after the husband, they teach them how to disagree with the family of the husband and how to establish herself, her authority over that family. So we need to change everything, the way we are bringing up our children and family and society.
Which is, you just referred here to the same point. It brought us back to what the Zahra was saying about the interference of the family and the wrong instructions that break down families that sometimes are given to the children from their parents. I want to pick up on a point that you made and pose a question to Sayeda Zahra. The Sayyid mentioned that couples should be compatible and kufr in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is not, that is something that barely looked at the time of marriage. And even if it is looked at, I find from personal experience that a lot of times these tend to be portrayed in a deceiving way, if I can call it this way. So after marriage, you find out that things were not exactly how they were portrayed to prior to marriage. But also picking up another point that we did is that the issue of alcohol and drug and other corruptions in the society. Uh, how much do you find that there is also a cover up regarding that? Where sometimes parents know that their boy, for example, has got certain bad habits, or their daughter has got certain bad habits, and yet they force them into a relationship in order to cover up that. And then that person, whether a male or a female, who's stuck with this person who's, for example, drinking alcohol or taking drugs, are now stuck. What do you have to say about these things? That it's a multifold question, but if you can give us your thoughts regarding these things, and we have now passed halfway through the program, so I think this will be the last question regarding the issues that we are experiencing in relationships, and then we will move on towards solutions.
Okay, thank you very much, Sister Zainab. So, regards to this problem which you mentioned, this is the dishonesty. If you don't tell anyone about the problems in your daughter or in your son, so this is called you're dishonest with those people. And to be honest, there are many cases which I have seen that people would tell me that this is what is happening with our daughter. Please, can you find someone for her? Or with our son, please. There would be, for example, there was a lady and she said to me that, Zara, my son drinks and my son gambles, but please find him a religious girl who can help him to get rid of this problem. So now, if regards to your question, if someone has got this problem, they should be honest with the other part, the other person. For example, they're finding someone, tell them that this is what is happening. The problem is that if they tell them, this is what they say, that if they tell them the right thing, I mean, they are not dishonest with them, honest thing they would say. So people, their son and their daughters won't get married. So this is not fair, right? So now, if you don't have any understanding what you're heading for, and daughter, she has husband who drinks, who has bad habits outside. So one of the unfortunate situation. Now, breaking is always the option. That's what I would advise. Breaking is going to be always the option. You can get pull up. That's not a problem. You'll get divorced. No problem at all. But what does our religion says? You have to be patient. Now, this is what has happened to you. Try to work on this relationship. Try to get, and you will get more sawab for that. It's not something that it would be left alone. You would be rewarded for that test and for that problem you are facing, which you were not expecting. So try your best to overcome this problem. Again, apply your Islamic knowledge, Islamic values. Allah is there to help you. Imam Zaman alayhi salam is there to help you. We have got many, many teachings of Ahlebait alayhi salam, as Agha mentioned, that there is patience, there is dedication, there is love, there is affection. There is so many things you can put together to get rid of this problem. And I'm sure this positivity would get somewhere, because don't forget that Allah has created you on positivity, not negativity. Negative is from yourself and positive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what you need to do, be positive. If you have been thrown into the deep end, try to swim, don't drown. That's what I would say, because when with positive attitude, you will get somewhere. Other thing is, when with drug dealing or something bad happens to you, I mean, with your husband, try to pull him. It doesn't, Sister Zainab, it doesn't happen. For example, someone who's not into the drugs before marriage, and after marriage he gets into the drug, right? So he gets into different bad habits. So you can't draw the line whether he has become like this or he was before then. So forget about this, whatever happened. Now you're within the situation. So that's what you need to do. Just try and try. If it works, that's fine. If it doesn't, don't worry. Inshallah, you will find next step forward. But seek advice from people, seek advice from elders. Go somewhere where you can get, good bunch of friends where they can give you good advice. That's what you need to do. Now, another thing with the relationship breaking down, which I want to, elaborate on, is when you do not value your partner. That's very important thing, because I've met many cases where husband doesn't value the qualities of his wife, and wife doesn't value the qualities of her husband. Appreciate each other. Try to appreciate, even on little things. For example, with husbands, they like appreciation. Even wives like appreciation as well. So go for appreciating them. For example, I'm just giving you a little example. Your husband goes doing lawn mowing, or he's doing something nice outside. He has done a beautiful garden. Rather than ignoring him, go to him, appreciate him. And then same thing with husband. If she cooks nice food, just appreciate her. If she says something nice, appreciate her. Because appreciation is the sign of respect and love. Little gestures can make your life beautiful. And you don't have to go for the bigger gestures for making your relationships. If that's the case, start from the beginning. And inshallah, people will find that it's going to be happen. Treat negativity with positivity. If you are negative, for example, your husband is negative, be positive with him. If he tries to fight with you, try to be peaceful with him. Same with your wife as well. So it's very difficult to deny the nice things all the time. So there would be a time where there would be stop of the negativity and positivity come. And don't forget that we have got Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have got many ways, du'as. So go for it. Do not miss your wajibat. Be punctual with your wajibat. Be punctual with the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be prepared yourself for the appearance of Imam Zaman alayhi salam. So there are all these things. Focus yourself on these things rather than worldly desire. So there's no point that you wouldn't be going together. But the problem is the world comes into in between us, and this Islam goes away. So that's why these problems happen.
What you just said just reminded me of an incident where Imam Ali alayhi salam, returning back from one of the battles, he had distributed all the war booty amongst the poor people of Medina. And when he came back home, as you both mentioned, Bibi Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha used to support him, even though she was a young wife and he used to be away on battle for long time. But when he approached and he said that I feel shy that I have distributed everything and I haven't brought anything back home, she said, well, if you had done anything other than that, I wouldn't have appreciated it and I would have been upset. And that was the
Of
level of
course,
support that she gave Imam Ali alayhi salam, and the level
of
of
course.
understanding that was between them, which was amazing, and it's a
Yes.
role model for us. Sayed, although
Absolutely.
divorce is very discouraged in Islam and it's the last resort to go to, however, it is very stigmatized, don't you think? And also, usually the blame is always fairly and squarely put on the woman, even if she was positive and for many, many years tried and tried and tried her best. And like the Zahra mentioned something very important there in her answer, is that sometimes, yes, there is dishonesty from the beginning, but sometimes bad habits actually appear in, in the middle of the relationship. So somebody who was not alcoholic or drug taking a person suddenly, with the pressures of life, they buckle down and they go into these habits. Are there any incidences where there is a good Islamic reason to seek divorce and to leave the relationship, or no, a relationship should always be adhered to and stuck at, and you have to be patient all the time and work at it all the time? I mean, nowadays we see a lot of people break the relationships very easily as well, but we're not talking about that. There are people who really try hard. Are there any good Islamic reasons why relationship break?
Yes, I mean, there are many reasons, and especially nowadays with the existence of this social media, the social media itself is playing a major role in breaking so many of the marriages. I remember I was doing a wedding, and the wedding did not take place because the couple came to my office and sat down, and the marriage certificate was ready and everything, and then the bride suddenly said that before we get married, can you please ask my husband to give all the passwords of the cards, banks, and mobile phones to me? Otherwise, I will not get married. And the husband got up and said, "Oh, I'm not marrying you." And the marriage did not take place. So this shows there was no trust. And recently, somebody asked Ayatullah Sistani about, can I check on my wife or husband's mobile phone? He said, no, not without permission. You should not interfere. And I mean, basically, what he's trying to teach is the trust. There should be trust, and if the marriage is established on trust, and the wife knows that my husband would not do haram, and the husband knows that my wife is loyal to me and she would not do haram, then what is the reason to not trust them? Of course, I mean, they should be protective of each other, and they should not, and that should not be considered as a sign of jealousy. I mean, if the husband is trying to protect his wife, or wife is trying to protect her husband, that is also a good sign, but there is a limit for everything. And Usually at the beginning of any marriage, because there is they hardly know each other, there is a bit of lack of trust at the beginning, and then gradually develops. In Muslim marriages, this is what happens in most of the cases. They don't know each other for a long time, and they just suddenly get introduced and get married, and so it takes time to know each other and establish trust between each other. And definitely, divorce is not haram. Otherwise, uh, we would have said it is haram. It's not haram, but it is one of the most disliked halal permissible action. And there are narrations that it shakes the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when a divorce takes place. Unfortunately, divorce has become a norm, and how many cases come to us, and we have to deal with them. And But this is life. Unfortunately, we need to, especially our ulama and centers are responsible to create awareness instead of just giving lectures of fazail and masaib of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Ulama have the responsibility and duty to teach the ahkam of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, uh, teachings of Ahlebait والسلام, and introduce Imam Hussain through his teachings rather than just making our community members just to cry. And I mean, one Iranian alim was telling me that he was invited to an Indian wedding, and then at the Sufra suddenly they requested Masayib of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, and he was very angry. He said, yes, everything at its place. Although, I mean, this is a tradition I know personally in Indian continent, it's a tradition that even at the beginning of the marriage ceremony, they have to recite some kind of musibat of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, and they claim that we have to remember Imam Hussain in every. Yes, we have to remember, but Imam Hussain was also happy. Imam Hussain also got married. Imam Hussain also took part in celebrations. So if we are the followers of Ahlebait alayhi salatu wasalam, we should be happy in their happiness and we should be sad in their sadness. We should not be constantly going in one direction. This is unfortunately pushing away some of our youth from Islam and Tashayyu. So we have to keep the balance.
I remember once you said before that we are not just a crying nation, that has to be a balance between happy occasions. And we can always remember Imam Hussein in a happy way. I mean, he had very successful marriages
Yes.
that were a
Yeah.
role model and an example to utter, and we don't have to cry about that. It can be done
No,
in a
nobody
very
mentions about that. Does anyone
in a very
know how many wives Imam Hussain had, how many children he had, and what was his role in upbringing his children, and how they felt that it was an honor to be in service of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam and sacrifice their life for Imam Hussain? How did he manage to bring them up in that way? That is what we need to teach our children.
And I think
absolutely.
there should be regular classes or darus for that sort of awareness in the youth, especially. There should be English lectures. There should be regular, if by the institutes, there should be regular classes as well. So apart from Haram, on regular basis all year, we need to get these things done, so our new generation would know what they are. And there should be awareness of the relationships as well, so about husband and wife, about different relations. We should be doing that as well, because it's very important, because Muharram is only for 2 months. So most of the time children don't go. First 10 days they go, and after then, now and then, they don't attend it. So we should make it the way more appealing. There should be workshops, there should be question answers, there should be quiz, there should be different activities which can lead to the awareness of these issues in the society. I think that's what we need to do. And one thing, regards to this, the whole thing, I'm not really sure how much time is left in
Only a
our
few minutes are
program.
left, so please go ahead. You can give your concluding remarks with your with the points you
Okay,
want
the
to.
main thing I would, before you do anything, what you can do once you're in the relationship, because we have discussed everything before then, we should be doing this after then, but once you are within the relationship, what can you do? What can help you? So immediately, if you feel that you are going wrong in your relationship, so what you need to do, sit down together, have a communication, write down your differences, why you fight, what things you don't like with each other. Write down, not talk, just literally take the paper, one paper in husband's hand and paper and pen in wife's hand. Write down what you don't like about your husband, what you like about your wife, what don't you. Write down on the paper and start working towards it. This is the best and effective way nowadays for the generation of nowadays. Why? Because when they see something happening, they can reason with each other, they can talk to each other, because poor communication can lead to a disaster. So communicate with each other, don't be shy, don't be afraid of having arguments, just be calm and calculated. Salam to Imam Zaman alayhi salam. Imam, can you help us? Salam to Rasul Khuda sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ask them for help, that we are going to do this. Please help us with this problem, and start working on it. And inshallah, it will help. It will work. It works magic. Honestly, when I gave this advice to many couples, and they came back to me and they said this was such a good advice, that we have seen the difference, we have seen the commons in among between both of us, and now we are going to work on the differences, not the commons. So that's what you need to do. Value your partner, appreciate their values, work on their weaknesses, and if you can't, forget about it. Appreciate each other, try to bring Islam into your life, and focus on the appearance of Imam Zaman alayhi salam. Try to be obedient to them, so everything will fall into place, inshallah.
Those are beautiful points and practical points also. And also sometimes, people feel that they are not with a receptive partner. So no matter how much they want to work on the points that you just mentioned, say the Gule Zahra, sometimes the opposite person is just not receptive to sitting and communicating no matter what you do. But in that instance, I love what you just mentioned, is that do tawassul and seek assistance from the Ahlebait alayhim salam. At the
Absolutely.
end of the day, you
Absolutely.
just try your best. And that is an
Yeah.
important avenue to hold on to and to reach out to. Don't neglect that.
Yeah, be positive. We are not talking about those people who don't want to work, who don't want to work this relationship. There are some there are some cases where men involved outside with someone else, and they don't want to work on their relationship. They left their wives alone, and vice versa, the same wife does the same. So we are not talking about those relationships. We are talking about those people who are genuinely struggling with their marriages, with their genuinely struggling with their partners. So this advice is for them. So whoever wants to work on their marriages, that's what they need to do. Be positive and do whatever we just ask you to do. Write down on paper and then see what happens. Inshallah, Allah is there to help you with positivity, and forget about the negativity, because this is not for us, because we are the followers of Holy Ahlebait alayhi salam. And Bibi Zahra salam alayha and Imam Ali alayhi salam. That was the beautiful couple, and with Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bibi Khadija salamu alaiha. That couple was also phenomenal. So we can see we can see the examples, and then we can act upon. They are our role models, and we should be doing that. Definitely.
I mean, there are so many beautiful points that have been raised in today's program, and so many avenues we could have took the discussion down. But unfortunately, we are out of time. It's nearly Maghrib time. Thank you so much to both my